And away we go.
Yes, and this is episode 21, part 3. And I did a 3-minute video of my own on this, but this is me bouncing off Steve, repeating some of the same stuff and then getting his feedback. Last weekend, part of why we didn't do things is because Wednesday through Saturday, I was at the Texas Trib Fest. They've been doing it for like 15 years. It's mostly a political thing where they have like almost anybody who's anybody here in Texas as far as senators and whatnot show up and talk. I got to see Pete Buttigieg, that was cool, and Tim Walz. But I want to talk about a few of the panels because that's where things got really interesting. Like there was one, and I swear to God, I should have gone back and looked up who the guys were, but that's actually kind of not relevant, or not as relevant as you might think. The panel was truth and myths about the Austin tech scene or something to that effect. And it was somebody who'd been a big, what's it called when you raise money?
Fundraiser?
It starts with V. Anyways, these guys who start companies and do a
Venture capitalists?
Venture capitalists, yeah. And he like got his start, I want to say, in California, and then he's been in Texas for like the past 15 years, something like that. And they kind of had their little spiel, and I was like, whatever, tech guys. And they talked about, is it better to be in California or Texas? And I kind of almost tuned out. And then at the end, there were some questions, and the questions where I kind of woke up and went, oh shit, because what I realized after like the second question was, these guys might know technology and they might know how to start a company, but they don't understand politics worth jack shit. Like the guy who'd been in Texas for a while and is better known in communities, he made some comment about, I live in Westlake, I'm not sure we even have a mayor because he wasn't on the ballot this time around. And I'm like, dude, have you not realized that that's something we only vote for like every other year? I mean, like, how clueless can you be? And then they made some comments like, why are you guys not investing more with your wealth? And what do you think about regulations? And it was, their answers just all of a sudden became so almost Musk-like in the sense of like defending things and not realizing what was going on. Like, the younger guy made some comment about, oh yeah, my kids go to Austin High and it's so cool that all the parents can get together and be all over the political spectrum and just hang together. And I'm like, you don't realize that some of you guys are literally supporting people who would take the other people's kids away and put them in right. It's not a flex, dude.
And you have the worst school system like in this country, like right. Ranked like 43rd or 4th, and that your teachers have the lowest pay in the country, and that the class sizes are the largest, and that you have the lowest test.
And then he made some comments about Austin. And he was like, "Oh, and you get Austin just makes some dumb decisions." I'm like, "You really aren't paying attention. The decisions aren't dumb because they're dumb. They got reversed because we're in a state where Abbott and the rest of the Republicans come in and reverse anything they don't like. It has nothing to do with the citizens of Austin making dumb decisions, you jackass." Anyways, I kind of like my whole semi-respect for these guys just dropped. But the bigger point is that I realized that most of the tech bro community, that they function on that level. It's not you have to be at Musk level to be this callous and stupid. No, it's pervasive.
Oh yeah, that's.
But it didn't strike me this hard until that
I've been
panel.
there for years.
Well,
I've been railing against tech. You've heard me railing against tech since day one. These guys, you nailed it, dude. These guys are morons. So the fact that some of them may have started with some tech background, right? Look, these are not the tech guys of old. They're not your Bill Gates, who actually kind of knew what the hell he was doing. No, did he buy DOS? Yeah. Did he, not really program much? Yeah. Was he more of a guy who cobbled some shit together and fucking sold it? Yeah, but he was actually a smart dude. Same with, with
Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
And even more so with Michael Dell, who was primarily just a salesman, but he understood the technology well enough to go, that's the next company I want to buy, and that's the next company I want to buy, and that's...
Right, but that's just evil.
Well,
Okay, so here we go. Once again, a venture capitalist, corporate con man, or PR con man. So these guys are business guys and they're slick salesmen. They're not tech guys. Not like somewhat what Steve Jobs could code, but of course he had Wozniak to do his real coding for him. The same with Bill Gates and his guys, and then they bought that DOS and they put some shit together. So if you look at the history of these guys, they're mostly just businessmen, right? Sort of like Ford. He was a mechanic too, but he was also able to develop, from some things he cobbled together, the process of putting these cars together in a quicker, more efficient fashion. The assembly line. He didn't invent it, but he kind of like really got it going. He assembly line the assembly line.
Yeah.
So
anyways, I had two other points. Let me jump aside.
But let me finish this thought about these tech bros. Yeah. So what's going on with these tech guys? Like, there's this fascination with them and this myth that they're very intelligent, they're smart, and they're good at tech, and they understand tech. What they were much better at was understanding like business and projecting what is probably going to come in the future. Now, some of these guys, like, if you listen to somebody like Steve Jobs back in the day, or even if you listen to Zuckerberg, what they clued on is things that don't exist yet that people are going to become not only accustomed to but addicted to. So, let's first talk about, the Facebook. If you look at Facebook and the social media thing that started, with MySpace originally and some these other ones, right? And it became Facebook. At the core of Facebook, that was developed as a very elitist form of social contact.
And stalking.
Well, I'll get to that point.
Okay.
That's reminiscent. That was the original idea, right? So when Zuckerberg was working with these guys at the university, Harvard, was it?
I don't remember which one.
Yeah, Yale. I'm pretty sure it was Harvard, but whatever it was. God, I should know that. I do know it, and my brain's just not fucking functioning right now. But
one of the ideas.
Yeah, so they're at this school, and these guys had this idea, and they hired Zuckerberg because he could fucking program, because he's a smart kid. But what does he do? He steals the idea because some girl disses on him. So he wants to insult her and humiliate her. That's how fucking Facebook started. So that's why it's called Facebook, because they would rate girls on it. But the idea was this whole social thing to counteract MySpace, that would be an elitist group that you had to like ask to be your friend. They could, develop these things in these hierarchies like they do in universities, like they do with the, the Greek system. Fraternities and sororities and all that shit, So this is based off of the most primal, instinctual, like horrific aspects of human behavior: stalking, humiliating, elitism, like showing off to your friends, judging other people. Like, that's the basis of this shit. This is the core belly, right? So then Zuckerberg, and they got this thing going, and then it became, now it's an addiction, and people are like hooked on this shit, Then it turned into some things that are like, I like to use it to show my photos, say some nice things once in a while, I kind of have my good aspects of how I use it. But for the most part, it's just like any other technology, it's been abused and used poorly. This is my whole thing. Yeah. I know I'm going long-winded, but I want to get this clear to people. That's Zuckerberg. He's not a fucking he didn't invent any technology. He did not create anything. He didn't develop any hardware, any software, anything that advanced human civilization in any meaningful way.
He took something that existed and promoted it, basically. Yeah. He
developed something that already existed, and then he bastardized it into something that really fucks people's heads up. And then it becomes these cycles of like these what's the word I'm looking for? Where echo chambers, where nobody's getting any other information than what they want to hear. So it turned into a horrible thing for a lot of people. I try to use it to the best what it can be used for, and my circle's very tight in that aspect. But now going, with Steve Jobs with the phone didn't exist. They knew that something like this could, and then he put it together. And what he was really good at is design. And he had these expert designers from Japan and that he hired along with his coders. And then he was a ball buster when it came to getting this vision right, what he wanted the phone to look like and how to function. He was good at functionality, ease of use, cobbling this stuff together, and getting people excited about technology and having it as a toy in a sense. at the same time, the people that weren't getting that thing as just a media consumption tool were actually trying to develop tools for getting work done. So like that's why you had these clunky machines that didn't look like a sleek iPhone for fashion, tech fashionistas, which is what it was. If you look at anybody who really doesn't need work, they don't use an iPhone; they use a fucking Android.
For the most part.
For the most part,
Yeah.
they don't use fucking. They use the Google. My first phone was a G phone. I never had an iPhone ever. I bought the earliest G phone. It had a slip thing out, and you fucking typed on it like a little type thing.
Well, some of it is we might have ended up with an iPhone had it not been for the way that the carriers sorted things out at the very beginning.
My point being this:
yeah,
these guys, and then Musk is the worst of them all.
Oh yeah,
he has no patents. He dropped out of engineering school. He's got no patents. Nothing he's ever done. He's never. They talk about how he coded when he was a kid. So did I. So did Al. Like everybody fucking coded shit when they're a kid. Not unheard of. So he is the biggest one that just blows my mind. Why there's this myth that he has a 150 IQ. When I keep asking every place, like, what's his IQ?
Have you ever watched an interview with him? He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He's an idiot.
Yeah.
Anytime he's cornered into a question, he just rambles and makes no sense. And by anybody who knows what they're talking about. And the little that I know about some of the things he's talking about, and I don't know much. I know enough. I've worked in the industries. I'm not trying to say I'm an expert, even though I worked in it.
No, but you know just enough to know that
he's talking shit.
Yeah, that's the funny part. Yeah,
and and I'm sure engineers that are like in the field of it, like aerospace engineering, gotta laugh at this fucking moron. So how he ever got thought of as a smart man with great ideas is dumbfounding to me. Because just because
there's this cult of people that believe that if you have a certain amount of money, you must have earned it, you must be smart,
like you had to have been smart. And it's like, look, any study has showed that the vast majority of millionaires and billionaires are not smart people. Like, they might have an IQ of average or slightly above. That's about it. Look, they're functioning at a level that nothing can really stop them from doing most jobs. That's about it. They're not at the high level of intellect that the people who actually make shit work are. And those people don't even want to be millionaires because they're just more about getting shit done and making things work. That's their motivation. Right. They don't give a fuck like about any of that shit, most of them. If you really look at the guys who really built or invented anything. So anyways, yeah, that's I'm sorry that I went off on a long tangent. Okay. I just want to
I'm glad you got there. I'm glad you got there.
Because I want to make it clear to people, please don't idolize these clowns. They're idiots, most of them. They're morons. They're PR conmen. They're slick salesmen. If it wasn't for tech, and they didn't have these brakes and they didn't have these backings, they'd be selling fucking fake watches at the side of the street, Or in the old days, they'd be selling snake oil salesmen going from town to town. So don't think of them anything more than just that.
Okay, hopefully less time on both of the next two topics, but the other panel, one of the other panels that I sat in on was about the tariffs, specifically as it relates to Texas ports and Texas commerce and stuff. There were about three experts or whatever, and the main point that they kept coming back to over and over and over was uncertainty. What they said was, yes, it's a tax on the consumer and it's not good and whatever, but what makes it really, 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 really bad is that people in industry, even people day to day, they need a certain amount of stability so they can say, okay, we can plan for this for next week and this for next month and whatever. And the way things currently stand, Trump is still being Mr. Taco, meaning that X tariff that he puts in day one, he might remove day two. He might not go through with on day four. He might double it on day 5. You just don't know what you're getting. And that was where their biggest complaint was. They said that, no, it's not good, but that's what makes it particularly bad, is that level of uncertainty. And well, I'll let you respond to that because that's all I needed to say on that. But if you've got a response,
so what you're saying is that there's uncertainty in.
Well, no, that normally in normal business environment, you would be able to say, hey, the tariff is X and we don't like it, but that's where it's going to be for the next 6 months. So we know how to deal with it. We know where to price things. We know what
since it's all this is in
since
flux.
It's all in flux all the time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Like, of course. Yeah. So it's going to disrupt the markets, and because nobody knows are these going to pass? Are they not going to pass? What's passing? When is it passing? Blah blah blah.
Right.
Blah.
So nobody was defending the tariffs per se, but again, to make it 10 times worse, you don't know literally sometimes on a day-to-day basis whether something's going to be removed, added, changed,
right.
whatever.
So what happens is the only comment I'm going to have on that is, and I think you already nailed it, was that sets the markets in disorder because they project based on what they know, and they don't know anything.
Right.
So they're confused.
Or rather, normally they can project out here, and now they can kind of do this.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, I went to like 3 or 4 different presentations all about AI, and some of it was insightful, but was more insightful, but was the way that these experts were saying bullshit. Like I'm not denying that they work in the industry in a way that I don't, but they were taking things that Steve and I know, and probably a lot of you watching know, and saying, oh, that's not true. Don't worry about that. For example, somebody said, well, what about the fear that it's going to take your job? And they were like, oh, don't really worry about that. It's not really. Well, wait a minute. I wasn't let go directly because of AI. However, where I was last working, they're letting people go and telling them, oh, we can just have AI do your job. Bye-bye. They're literally doing that. So don't tell me it's not happening. It's happening. The other thing that happened, and I should have gone up and talked to the guy afterwards, because if he's thinking the way I'm thinking, then maybe he's not wrong. But here's what happened. It's somebody's asked something about the AI bubble, and his response was, oh, there's no AI bubble. Well, here's my breakdown, and then I'll let Steve comment. My breakdown is, if by bubble you mean, oh, the amount of change and the amount of positive and or negative developments in life, society, whatever, the amount of that is not a bubble, then yes, you might be right. But if you mean, like a lot of us, the amount of money being piped into it, the amount of that companies are being pushed to try and get AI to do things that it's not yet capable of, the amount that we are relying on AI to turn around a profit in a short period of time based on the amount of investment, all of that kind of logic, then there is definitely a bubble, just unequivocally.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on all points. So, your first point about the AI,
changes to society and macro changes.
The jobs.
Jobs.
I'm sorry,
jobs. That was the first one.
For a second there. Yeah, it's one of those days. So yeah, jobs. Yeah, it's going to take jobs. It already has. Like, what are they talking about? And look, if it didn't take jobs, right? They laid you off, right? You're never going to get hired back for that job because AI took it. Like,
right.
Like, so look, if it's not taking jobs,
and the scary thing that people keep forgetting,
it's not creating jobs.
Well, the thing is, it might create one job for every 20 that it takes. Well, in net return is it losing jobs, right?
Well, it didn't create that job because somebody who worked there
just started doing that instead. Yeah,
started doing the AI job instead.
Right.
So let's put it this way: anybody who's laid off from tech right now, you're probably not going to get a job. I'm sorry, like you're probably fucked. Like it's so fucking sad. It's so fucking sad.
But the point I was getting at is that too many people think of it in simple terms like, oh, if I work in a warehouse, a robot's going to take my job. Well, yes, that's one aspect. I'm not denying that. But it's taking professional jobs that people never, ever, ever would have thought that a piece of software could have done.
Look, and I'm seeing also some of this backlash to this denial once again. And I think it's denial where people are saying, oh, look at already, all this AI slop, and now they had to hire me back to clean up their slop, right? Well, look, that's probably an anomaly, and I'm sure it's happening, and I'm sure it does happen because it is slop sometimes, right? It does have to clean up if it's code, if they don't know how to use it, they're not using it right. But a guy who knows how to use it right and isn't creating slop from it is going to be 5 times more proficient. I'm sorry, they are. If you know how to use it to code correctly, and you know how to prompt it correctly, and you know how to use it, why to use it. And there's some logic behind that, right? Well, it's going to get easier and easier. It's going to get better and better and better and better and better. So it's going to take jobs. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to take jobs and lots of jobs. Lots and lots and lots of jobs. These automated cars are taking jobs for Uber and Lyft drivers. These automated systems are taking jobs for anybody who's just answering calls or doing sales.
Yeah, the Waymo is all over the place.
Yeah, there's hundreds of them. That's going to take everybody's job. At least half of them. And then just like they're going to lose half the jobs in 10 years, especially if you're in tech and stuff like that. So, and like you said, these middlemen. And what's really scaring people are like lawyers, like especially if you're just like a contract lawyer or all this other stuff. Is AI sloppy? Yeah. is the wording good enough and well enough to get the job done, and people don't give a fuck because they're losing because they really don't care about standards as much as they should or used to.
Yeah.
Because that's capitalism, right? Good enough, let it go. So yeah, they're gonna allow things to get a little sloppier. It's probably gonna improve, but like I said before, it can pass the bar exam, it can pass the medical exams, it can do all these things that people don't think it can do. Does it think the same way a human does? No, not right now. Are these? And now I'm going to get into your second point about this bubble. So they started off with these LLMs, large language models, right? And then the logic behind that was just taking language and then just and then coming up predictive models, right? In that regard, according to language. Well, now they're coming up with different models that are more reasoning and logic models incorporated with some of this language, and it's much better. And it's much more efficient and proficient, and it's also developing its own codes and things like this and ways to minimize the amount of bandwidth that it takes to actually get these things going. The hardware, the energy, all that shit, right? So they invested all this money thinking they're going to build these giant warehouses, like, $500 billion, whatever they're going to invest to build this thing, and it's going to take all this energy and blah, blah, blah. Look, who knows when quantum computers are coming, but with processing powers and coding languages and the advancement of the models themselves and the less code that they're using, the way it's regenerating itself into better and more efficient coding, and the logic that they're using now compared to the LLMs. Because if you look at ChatGPT, even compared to, the Gemini, the code is like half the size, and it's just as good, or something like that. These numbers aren't completely right, but my point is this. The code that they originate with GPT is just getting fucking massive because of the way they fucking structured this thing. Some of these new ones, they don't have to go that far with their coding because it's just structured completely different. I don't know how to describe it if you don't understand coding, but there's just more efficient ways of doing things and just different ways of doing things that make it so they don't have to use as much, right? And
which means that some of the concerns that people are freaking out about aren't necessarily the same level of concerns.
Okay, let me put it. This is a really weird actually, but maybe this will kind of resonate in some people's brains. It was this Twilight Zone episode, right? So this guy's going to go blast off to this place in outer space, and he's talking to his girlfriend. They're in their early 20s, whatever it is. I might not be 100% right about this again. I've never am. So, but when he comes back, he's going to be an old man, and he's going to be young still, and she's going to be an old woman, or vice versa, whatever the case was. I think it was the man went off, he comes back. Well, he goes off, he comes back. He's still 25, she's 70, whatever. And what he finds out is they got there 20, 30, 40 years before he even did. Because they had better advanced technology that beat him, so he did it for nothing. So my point is, they're coming up with better shit than what they had, so they're wasting their time. Like, you're going to waste your time building this shit, and there's going to be something better, and like, somebody's going to come with something in like 2 weeks, and you're not going to need any of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a good analogy?
No,
I wrap their head around.
I get it. Some people will get it. Some people.
Yeah, you get it. Right?
Yeah,
You're doing this for nothing because there's going to be better technology that's going to outpace it. These original AIs, artificial intelligence. Now they're calling it.
Oh, artificial. I'm going to make one more comment. The last panel, I think it was the last panel that I saw about this. They kept insisting. Oh no, there were 2 or 3 that did this. They kept insisting. Oh yeah, AI has been around since the 1950s because that's when Alan Turing first started describing the concept. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a little bit disingenuous in my mind. I mean, did it evolve last year? No. Did it evolve last decade? No. But it has not been around since the 50s. Okay, I don't know when you want to put it. Maybe the 70s or 80s, but the 50s. Just because somebody came up with the concept back then, that's a little, in my mind, that's a little disingenuous.
In its rudimentary forms, as the predictive models were being developed, it never really became useful until about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, that's
to where it was actually doing
so
something.
Even if you want to do the precursor of the precursor, that would be maybe 10 years
You had basically things that were doing some predictions, mathematical precision, faster than a human could, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't at the breakneck speeds with the advanced data processing speeds that were required to actually make it into something that was useful. Earlier stuff when it comes to these language models were just like that thing where you type something and it would finish your sentence, And half the time it was fucked up and wrong.
Right.
And then when ChatGPT first came out, it just blew everything away. Like, it was mind-numbing to me how advanced it had gotten so fast with with what they were doing with it and how they were developing this coding processes to get to that level. And that all required these super, like you said, and why the bubble's going to happen, fast, massive computer processing power. Look, remember when, what was it, Big Blue Sky, whatever the one went up against in Jeopardy?
Yeah.
Won. That's AI in a sense, but look, they had this huge giant computer, like, doing this thing, and they had to like.
But now we have it down here, and it can do things that every day-to-day humans actually want, as opposed to just sign up parlor trick.
Right, now it's in this cloud, and everybody can use it.
Yeah.
So it's not just parlor trick anymore.
Right.
But yeah, they're correct. Yeah, but when did it really get useful, and when did it start taking jobs? A couple years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so yeah, bottom line is, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's going to get better. It's going to take jobs, and it's going to get cheaper, faster, more efficient, and where that leads us, I don't know. We've talked about this before. What does that make us as human beings these days?